Hello, and welcome to Change the Face of Yoga, teaching toddlers through golden oldies. I'm very excited to be talking to lots of yoga teachers who will explain their passion for teaching yoga to students with different ages, physical fitness levels, wellness levels, and different goals. They will explain the benefits of yoga for these students and will be including teacher tips and pose modifications. I am Stephanie Cunningham of Yoga Lightness, and I've been teaching over 50s for 10 years. So this area is my passion and the passion of many other yoga teachers that you will be listening to in this series. Thank you so much for listening, and let's get started.
This is Changing the Face of Yoga, and this is episode 127. And this is part of the Yoga Teacher Support theme. And I'm speaking to Jamie Elmer. And Jamie is an experienced RYT 500 teacher, and she also provides continuing education through her streaming, or possibly through her streaming site. We'll get into that a little bit more. She has been teaching yoga and movement therapy full-time, which is impressive, for over 18 years. She specializes in alignment, applied anatomy, and healing injuries. Jamie travels to teach teacher training, continuing education immersions, retreats, sees students online, and has an online streaming video membership site for teachers, or for students, and as a continuing education resource for teachers. Jamie, thank you for coming on. I really appreciate your sharing with us on this podcast. Is there anything else you want to add to that particular introduction?
No, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Oh, okay.
I think that about covers it at this point.
All right.
Thanks, Stephanie.
The reason I asked Jamie to be on the podcast, especially in this theme of yoga teacher support, is, as you can tell, she's very busy and she's doing lots of different things, which probably requires some kind of marketing, either to other yoga teacher training people or to students or for her video streaming site. But she had posted something, which I suppose is a bit ironic, but anyway, about she was really looking at social media and how that was, I suppose, supporting her efforts. And so I know I've had several business coaches and they always tell you have to be on all these social media stuff and it's really, really important. But I think we should really kind of think about it. And since Jamie has thought about it, I asked her to come on and kind of talk a little bit about it. So I assume, Jamie, and I could be wrong, that you have used social media to, in part, market your offerings and are now thinking about, I suppose, the efficacy of it, if that's true. So I just like you to kind of set the stage for where you were and why you decided it needed more thought.
Yeah, well, thanks. Yes, for for seeing that first on social media, and I think it would be a good topic to bring up because I too have worked with some coaches that have been great.
Yes,
and I have been I've been encouraged to use social media. And I also feel like I've come up as a teacher as social media was coming into our life. And it was just a given that, of course, we were going to use social media. And of course, we needed to be on Facebook. And of course, we needed to be on Instagram. And it's just a given that that's what you do without really even thinking about, is this natural for me? Does it feel right? Is this really where I'm getting my clients? Is this really where I'm getting my students? And is it an effective use of my time? I in no way hate social media. I enjoy it, but I've learned that I need to enjoy it and want to enjoy it in moderation, both just personally and professionally, because I am the first to admit that I started going down this rabbit hole probably about a year and a half ago, where I was really trying to build my business as I was launching the streaming site and traveling more than ever, and really quote unquote, working more than ever, but most of my work was all behind a computer screen at my desk, not teaching. I went down that rabbit hole of I kind of took the bait thinking I need to be on social media as much as possible. And I started out with posting 4 times a week and had a whole grid and the theme and the blah, blah, blah of all right, this is what I do at 8 a.m. on Tuesdays, and this is what I do at noon on Tuesdays. And I started spending so much time on this thing that really I don't enjoy spending that much time on. It's not natural for me. And a year and a half into it, I realized that the people that are still connecting with me, the people that still respond to my newsletter, the people that still come on a retreat, the people I'm seeing for privates, these people, most of them, I'd say 99% of them, are all people that I've worked with in person and are on my mailing list. I'm not, I'm not like the next YouTube 20-something-year-old model on Instagram that people are just going to start to follow in herds. It's just not me. It's never been me. And I'm not the type of person that idolizes people like that either. And so for me, social media, trying to put on this presence, which I actually, it was suggested to me that I actually get a acting coach to help me for my social media posts. And when I heard that on the other end of the phone, literally in my mind, something just clicked, and I was like, I'm out. I'm done. It's not me. That is just not me. And there's only so much time in the day, So it's a medium that I do enjoy. I think it's useful to remind people, hey, I'm still here out there doing this if you're interested. Mm-hmm. And I've cut back to about once a week that I post on Instagram and Facebook. And that feels good. I like sharing an event. I like sharing some helpful tips. And I think people like it. For me, at least, they like hearing from me in moderation. Instead of, Jamie's going to post 5 or 8 times a day. Yeah. And I'll catch her next time, And it was so unnatural. I can't even describe it, let alone just a total energy and time suck from actually what's most important in my life, which is not to become an Instagram star. That's not a goal. This is not even a possibility anyway. So why try?
Okay. So you say that you're really getting your clients and your students from your mailing list. And how do you build that mailing list if you don't use social media?
Well, I would say that the majority of people that are on my mailing list are people that I've worked with in person. And I think that people connect in different ways. I think that we gravitate towards different people in different ways. I'm not someone, even though I have a streaming site, as I mentioned, I'm not someone that people are going to see on screen or see in a photo shoot and be like, wow, I want to be her. I don't think so. And so I connect more with people in person. And I think the reality is that most of us do, we see someone like in a movie or in a photo shoot, and it's different. And so I've built my mailing list through working with people in person. And then once in a while, I'll put out a post on social media about, if you want to be part of my mailing list, click here. And a few people will sign on, but it's usually always that, not usually always, it usually is that human connection that's been made, and not a stranger browsing the internet or browsing social media and connecting with me that way. That happens once in a while, but not very often.
Okay. Okay. So you've actually done some analysis, shall we say, of where your new clients, students, opportunities are coming from, and social media is not contributing a whole lot to that. Is that a fair statement?
Yeah, and I would say the people that stay in touch with me via social media, the people that comment, the people that like, the people that repost a post of mine, usually those people also are people that I've worked with at some point in the last 20 years in person. So the social media crowd, that interaction is still most of the people that are on my email list.
Okay. All right.
And I'd say the same goes with YouTube. I had a YouTube channel and really worked that for a while. And I've paused it right now, basically, because I also find that people that are going to get content from YouTube, they're going to stay YouTube users. They're going to stay the users that want something for free. And it doesn't actually drive people to anything that requires more of a financial commitment.
Okay. No, that's a good thing. Good thing to know, because it is. I agree with you. It can be a real time suck that you just spend so much time getting posts ready and stuff. I just put out one post a week on whatever my newest podcast is, and that takes time, because and really, I kind of agree with you. But I would ask you this. You have 20 years of experience behind you. Obviously, you've made lots and lots of contacts over your teaching and video streaming and your students and your clients. But if someone is brand new and really doesn't have a lot of those contacts and doesn't have a mail list, what do you think that there's some value there in social media?
Yeah, I definitely think so. And again, I really think that it has to do with what feels right for you. Some people, it's fun, it's natural, they enjoy it. And I'm not saying I don't enjoy social media and even creating posts for quote unquote work posts. But I think for other people, it's actually even more fun. And if that feels like the thing that's natural to you to connect with people and get the word out, then you should go with that. I mean, I worked with a couple people a few months ago in Germany, and there were a couple of women teachers in the training that lovely teachers. We connected. They wanted to stay in touch, but they were like, you know what? I don't do email. I'm on social media. That's how I connect. Like, they didn't want to be on any mailing list or anything. I'm like, okay, that's your thing. And I really think that if you don't have a mailing list, social media can be great as long as it really in your gut feels like it's a good fit for you in a way, and a way to communicate with other people. I don't necessarily even think that that's an age thing. I think it's just a personality thing. And I would much rather write out an email newsletter and write someone back a response through old-fashioned email than have direct messages in my Instagram account and messages in Facebook that I know are hanging out there that I haven't responded to. And to me, it just gets to feel really messy and like it starts to scramble my brain. But for other people, again, just if that feels like a natural, easy means of communication, then it's probably going to work for them more. If it doesn't feel natural and it feels forced, it's probably not in the end going to work.
Yeah, I agree. I do think, though, that your take on analyzing where your clients and students came from is important, because just throwing it out there is, and even if it does feel good, and if it's just to throw it out there, great. But if you're actually expecting to get something back out of it, I think it's important to kind of track that and say, yeah, it is working or it isn't. And you can try some new things if it's not working. Maybe you're just, but just to think about, is this really worth my time? Because it, a business takes up a lot of time, and you really have to put your energies and resources into the thing that's whatever you're trying to achieve. I know everybody can be different, but.
And, I think there's two important things also. It's got to feel, it can't feel like a burden. If you're going to keep up writing a newsletter, if you're going to keep up doing a once a week post on social media or 10 posts a day, it's got to be something that you can actually sustain, both time-wise, energy, and that you look forward to and don't put off and don't procrastinate about, And I think for me too, most of the people that I connect with and that are my students and clients are not 20 and 30 something year olds. They're 40 and up, which I think is also, you got to look at that demographic. And most of them are not on social media or so as social media savvy as someone in their teens, or 20s. So that's a big reality also.
That's true. So what's your market and who are you trying to attract? Because that's going to make a difference. Although I have heard that with Facebook, and I don't know if it's true with the others, I think maybe they've all migrated to something else, but that it's really over 40s are becoming the majority on Facebook, that the young ones are leaving. I don't know quite where they're going, but that's okay because my group is not young either. So, so if you were to give some advice to someone that's young or not young, but possibly just starting out, maybe that's a better way to define it. And given that you've said, hey, it has to feel good, it has to feel right for you. What do you think has been the best return on investment, to use one of those businessy terms, for you and might be for someone else?
In terms of advertising?
Yeah.
And marketing?
Yeah.
For me, it's hands down a mailing list.
Okay.
For sure, no doubt. And thankfully, I don't even remember who it was, but it was probably 16 years ago where I barely used email, and it was longer ago than that, I guess, but maybe about 16 years ago that someone suggested to me to start a mailing list. And I thought, like, why do that? I teach at the studio. I didn't, I wasn't thinking 5 or 10, 20 years down the road. And thank God somebody suggested that to me, because it's really interesting, and it's a bit of a Murphy's Law type of thing. In my experience, whether it's on social media or mailing list, there's the people that you meet that are like, I'm coming to your next retreat and I'm signing up for the streaming site and I want privates with you and I'll be in touch. And you never see that person again. And then there's the people that were always in the back of your class that were on the mailing list 15 years ago that you hear from like once every 5 years, and they're still on your mailing list. And they comment on, having stayed watching for however many years. And you just never know who those people are really going to be and who's going to just all of a sudden show up at a retreat. And you're like, oh my gosh, you've been on my mailing list for 15 years. I never hear from you. And here you are. And the people, usually, in my experience, the people that, talk about like, we're coming to this and I'm going to do this, you never hear from them again. And there's something about people actually in person writing down, with pen and paper, their email that has become, I think, more intimate than someone scrolling through their phone and on their screen, just being able to like this and that and comment. But it's not, it's not as much of an investment in some ways. So anyway, point being, whoever it was that first told me to start gathering emails, I thank them. And that has been hands down the best thing for me in terms of staying in touch with people and marketing by far. And I actually just talked with a couple new teachers that one guy, he's got 22 people on his mailing list. And he's like, should I start a newsletter? I'm like, well, sure. If that is, he enjoys the writing, he enjoys the actual process of it. You get 2 people on your mailing list, 22 people. And if you feel drawn towards that and you actually enjoy connecting with people through writing and typing, then go for it. But even if you don't enjoy the email thing, I'd say there's no harm in building an email list. Even if you don't use it, 5 years from now, you could have 100, 200 people on it, and you just never know when you might need that or that it might really help you.
Yeah. Okay. I think that's good advice. I have an email list and a newsletter that goes out, and I'm always amazed that people stay on the list. I mean,
right?
I'm kind of like, do they, okay. Obviously I'm muttering here, but I agree with you. I think it is more intimate. If they've stayed on that list years and years and years, whether they've ever commented or gave you any feedback at all, but they know it's going to come out once a month or every 6 weeks or whatever your particular schedule might be. I think it is much more, there's just not as much noise in that. It's very focused. It's very, very much you, very much the person that wrote it. And
well,
go ahead.
Yeah. And it's interesting. I recently did send out an email. My emails are different. I've really tried to stick with a format and follow a plan. And it just doesn't really work for me. It has to feel more real and inspired than like following a format. And so sometimes my newsletter is very short. This is what's coming up. These are the 3 things going on this summer. Hope to see you at one of them. Period. Done. And then sometimes, like this 2 newsletters ago, I felt inspired to sit down and write a newsletter. I told people that I had family issues going on. I told people a little bit more, just more personal things while protecting my family's privacy. I don't gush too much or anything like that. And I had a couple of people that are very close to me respond and say, I think you made a mistake and I think you put yourself in a corner. And that was a little much. I had 2 people respond like that. And I also, looking back through MailChimp, because they can track how many people respond and open and read it and all. I had more response to that newsletter than I've had in any newsletter in literally over a decade. Because it was real. And it was real. This, this is what's going on. This is what I want for you. Hope to see you. It was more than that, but it was the most real and open newsletter I had written in a very long time. And I got the most support back from it. And it was a really good reminder and lesson that, yes, I'm running a business, but I am selling myself. So if I just keep it all very, very business-like, that's not what I do in the moment. That's not actually what's going on while we're teaching and connecting with people. And it's one thing if I were writing the newsletter for a studio facility, but I'm writing it just as me. And it was a good reminder that it's good and actually helpful to be open in our newsletters and social media. I think, to a degree.
Yeah. Yeah.
With boundaries.
Definitely. But I agree. I think your point that basically you're selling yourself and people have to feel that they know you. And I've been in business things where, people say, oh, I'm supposed to be vulnerable and I'm supposed to tell you that, yes, I am a business coach, but that doesn't mean I'm perfect. And it always embarrassed me, quite frankly. But over the years, I've thought, that's right, to know that they have problems too, and that they haven't solved everything, because it can be a bit daunting if you don't have a really big background in business, which I didn't. I came from a different world entirely. So it's been quite an experiment. And I that's why I think I was so fascinated by what you were saying, that, we get all this advice, but it really does come down to, what do you feel like? What makes you think it's authentic when you're talking to people? Is it through a post? Okay, cool. That's fine. Or is it a email or whatever, or in person? It's that connection you're looking for.
Yeah. And I think that's part of, obviously when it comes to teaching, I've really gravitated in my teaching towards things that are technical and a little more scientific. Although a lot of my background is in dance and improvisation and the arts. And I think that really comes out in how we feel comfortable marketing ourselves. Because I know for me, even though I may be promoting a technical video on how to access your transverse abdominals, I cannot, or maybe I'm just not willing to follow a system of, okay, Jamie, at 8:00 on Monday morning, you do an educational post. And at 6 p.m. on Mondays, you do an intimate fun post. And at Tuesdays at 9 a.m., you do an advertorial post. And I'm like, that to me, I'm like, I can't do it. It's a structure, which is, I like structure and it's good for us, but it doesn't feel authentic in the moment. And I think, again, at least for me, social media has to feel just kind of like fly by the seat of my pants in the moment. And those, again, are the posts that get the most interaction and feedback. And that are things that I personally, I can't plan and still feel inspired to do.
No, I agree. And that is a formula. I've seen that formula. You have to have a funny one and an informative one and I did it for a while, but it just kind of went by the wayside. So I'm pretty sure it wasn't anything I was really excited about. But
right. That's the kind of the proof of like, I don't think that this is working for me.
I'll do that tomorrow. I know it's not on the schedule, but I'll do it tomorrow. What I was shocked at, and I realize this is probably just my inability to see clearly, but what the podcast was doing was providing connections. And I hadn't ever thought of it as being that kind of media. I just thought of it as being informative and trying to, get out the word that there's a lot more to yoga than you may see in an ad. And what I got back was people saying, it's so nice. I'm in an isolated area and it's so nice to hear other yoga teachers talking. And it was that kind of thing. And I thought, wait. This is wholly different than what I thought it was going to be. And so it's just been kind of an interesting process, shall we say, that it's really the connection that people appreciate as well as what everyone is, But I think that goes to social media. It has to be the connection that you're looking for. And if it's not there or it's not authentic, then I think it's probably important to think about whether that's really an important thing to be doing.
Right. And I think people feel it. I mean, I think we even know it when we're posting or, like trying to get a picture for a certain post, or we're writing a post and it just isn't coming out right. I think we know when it feels forced. And I think you're right that social media is all about connection, hopefully. Mm-hmm. Whether it has a different theme or not from post to post or person to person or whatever your business is, it is about connection and people feeling a part of an online community. We feel community in so many different ways. That's why people, I think it's really so often why people go to a yoga class,
Yeah.
It's more about the community than anything else.
True.
Why people go to church, why that's why when we're looking at Instagram or Facebook on our phone and we're home or somewhere alone, it makes us feel like we are a part of. And that is something that a few months ago, we had, we meaning my husband and I, we had just this series of events that were really disruptive. And along with that, I was spending all this time, too much time on work. I was spending too much time on social media. And I committed to taking a week off of social media. And that's when I knew it was really a problem for me, was when I decided to take a week off. It seemed like a long time. Mm-hmm. And the first couple of days, I felt like I was missing out. I felt lonely. I felt like the world was moving on without me. It made me agitated. It gave me anxiety. Like, if I don't log in and like or comment on somebody's comment or whatever it is, people are going to forget about me. And the first few days were really hard, as if I felt lost from my life out there. And that was a really good lesson. And a thing to observe, like, wow, this is a problem. and that's when the week off, it turned into, I don't know how, like 5 weeks. Because once I kicked the habit, I put all of my social media apps on my iPhone. I put them on the last page, so they're not just like on the home page of the phone. So and then I made designated times, like, all right, I'm going to do this at this time and this at this time. And that's it. I had all sound and visual notifications turned off on my phone for everything, texts, everything, including social media. And there's just designated times now that I check it. But actually, once I took the break from it, it was hard to get back into it. I was like, ugh, this is a drag. And this is just so silly. It felt like, what are we doing? And what did how much time was I spending doing all this?
Yeah. It is a little, if you actually sat down and thought, kept a log of how much time you were on, I think it might be a bit shocking for everyone, not you personally, but all of us, Yeah.
Yes. No, I think you're right. I mean, even those of us that now spend some time once or twice a week, I think it would still be shocking if we really added up the time where you just, check those comments or do a couple of likes while you're in the bathroom. You know what I mean? Right. If you added up all those moments, it can be a shocking amount of time.
Yeah.
And, is it how I want to spend my life? And if you're doing it for work, is it really helping your business?
Is it? And it's not easy to measure, but at least you should have some idea, because it does take up a lot of time. I agree. Okay, so, Jamie, I will give you the opportunity if you would like to either talk about something that we haven't talked about at all that you think is important, or you'd like to go into depth into a topic that we discussed a little. So I'll give you that opportunity to kind of say whatever you'd like to the listeners.
Wow. Okay. That's open. I try to rein it in. Well, I guess not that I have, decades and decades of experience in this, but I guess what I feel like is up for me now that I do think is important to pass on is it is good to ask for help in terms of business coaches and asking people that are doing what you want to do, asking them, how did you do it? Did you build an email list? Do you use Facebook, or do you use Instagram, or do you use LinkedIn, or, and really looking at not just taking advice from people that say they're good at giving advice, but really people whose life reflect something that you want to be like, and especially when it comes, I think, to teaching yoga. And I've just recently changed my business name to Movement Therapy Company and taken the name yoga out of it. It's very intimate what we do. And as time goes on, we learn more about how we best connect with people. And to observe, again, what works best for you, what your real nature is. And not that we shouldn't challenge ourselves, and not that, if we are yoga teachers, it's not that we're going to be able to do the business side great, and vice versa. We can't wear every hat and be a jack of all trades and great at all of those things. But if you're an independent teacher, or if you teach at studios, or you see privates, or you're a yoga therapist, I would say more than ever, with so many resources we have online, in social media, through newsletters, really notice, like, what do you sit down and feel excited to do when it comes to your business? And go that route, and take advice from other people and try it on. Don't just say, like, that's just not me, I'm not going to do that. Try it. You may surprise yourself. And there's some things like, our monthly accounting or whatever it is that we just have to do because that's being a grown-up and that's being an adult, and we got to do it regardless. But when it comes to how you connect with people in your work, in our work, don't necessarily try to do it like somebody else just because they're a coach or they're a business professional. Because I think people can feel that. They can feel when it feels forced. They can feel when you're holding back or it's contrived, whether it's through writing, or whether it's through a video, or whether it's through, a post on Instagram. And in my streaming site, I've had the site less than 2 years, and it's been one of the greatest and hardest things I've ever done personally, because I'm a trained modern dancer, so I'm used to being on stage playing a role. Teaching was hard for me for many years at first, because I had to be myself, and that's super vulnerable and scary. And my God, then seeing myself on film, it was a massive leap for me in the last couple of years. And what's interesting is like, I try to sometimes get behind the camera or get in front of the camera and get all professional and have my little script. And it looks cheesy. It's hokey because I'm not just being natural. And the days that I put on the camera and I do a practice of how to strengthen your feet and ankles wearing jeans, and I got my dog in the background, the video quality is good. It's great content, but I'm being myself, and it all works out, 1,000 times better. And so how we market, how we run our business, and how we teach all go hand in hand, where we need to continue to teach, just like you have to step into front of the room and be yourself, or you go to somebody's house and work with them one-on-one, you have to be yourself. Try to find the ways of marketing and connecting with the community online, in person, through writing that still feels like you, so that you don't feel like you're trying to be, have different personalities.
Yeah.
It's all one big yoga process, including how we market, and really pay attention to that. Because if it feels forced, you're not going to be able to sustain it.
Yes, I think that's a very good point. If it doesn't feel right for you, you just can't force yourself to do it for any length of time. So, no. Well, thank you so much, Jamie. I want to give your contact details so that people can will know how to contact you. Her email is info@movementtherapyco.com. And the website is the same, Movement Therapy movements.therapyco.com. Obviously, I can't talk today. Okay. Facebook is Movement Therapy Company, as is Instagram. So I will have all those in the show notes. But thank you so much, Jamie. I think you really put the marketing in a context that probably feels better for all of us, instead of all these things that we're supposed to do, but really looking at what is authentic for me, because that's the only way I can continue to do this kind of stuff if it feels like coming from me. So thank you so much. I appreciate you coming on. So it's been really interesting.
Oh, thank you so much, Stephanie. I really appreciate it. Fun stuff to discuss, and ever changing. And for those of you out there that have listened to this, thanks for tuning in. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for that wonderful interview. If you would like to be a guest on Changing the Face of Yoga, please go to my website, www.yogalightness.com.au, and under the Changing the Face of Yoga tab, you can complete Be Our Guest form. After reviewing the form and finding it applicable to this podcast, we will send you a link to schedule an interview. Please download, review, and tell your friends of any podcasts that are of interest to you and to them. If you would like to contact me, send an email to info@yogalightness.com.au. And thank you for listening to Changing the Face of Yoga.